Imagine waking up one day to find that the cost of everyday necessities has tripled overnight. That's the harsh reality we might be facing in 2025 as the global economy grapples with escalating trade wars and tariffs. As we stand at the brink of a new decade, the international trading system we've taken for granted is fraying at the seams, threatening to unravel completely. Let's consider the impact on something as basic as food. As trade barriers rise, the availability of meat, fruits, and vegetables, once staples of our diets, could dramatically decrease. These everyday items might soon become luxuries, their prices potentially tripling due to severed supply lines. Imagine a world where a simple apple is an extravagance and a steak dinner is a once-in-a-lifetime event. This isn't some dystopian fantasy, it's a very real possibility in a world where global trade is disrupted. And it's not just food. Everything from electronics to clothing could become significantly more expensive, if not downright unaffordable. This is the sobering reality of a global economy in turmoil, where the cost of living could skyrocket while wages remain stagnant. But why is this happening? The answer lies in the ongoing trade wars and tariffs that are causing a breakdown in global cooperation. As countries retreat into protectionism, the intricate web of international trade that we've built over decades could collapse, bringing with it the comfortable lifestyles we've become accustomed to. This isn't a situation we can afford to ignore. The global economy is teetering on the edge of a precipice. A fall could mean a new Great Depression with all the hardship and suffering that entails. The time to prepare is now. In the face of such a crisis, self-sufficiency and financial preparedness are not just desirable, they're absolutely essential. So what can you do? In the coming scenes, we'll delve deeper into the potential impacts of this economic breakdown and offer practical strategies for survival. We'll explore how to become more self-sufficient and how to safeguard your assets against the looming threat of hyperinflation. Because when it comes to the global economy in 2025, forewarned is forearmed. The Great Depression of the 1930s was a time of hardship for many. But how does the economic data from that era compare to today? Our journey into the past reveals some startling insights. In the 1930s, the average American worker earned about $1,700 per year. This may seem paltry by today's standards, but let's consider the cost of living at that time. A loaf of bread cost about a nickel, a gallon of gas was 10 cents, and you could buy a house for less than $4,000. Now fast forward to today. While the average American income has increased to around $50,000 a year, the cost of living has skyrocketed. That nickel loaf of bread, try closer to $3, a gallon of gas, closer to $3 as well. And that $4,000 house? Today the median home price hovers around $270,000. This is what we mean when we talk about real wage stagnation. Yes, on paper, our wages have increased, but when you factor in the rising cost of living, our purchasing power has not kept pace. In fact, when adjusted for inflation, the average American's purchasing power has barely budged since the 1970s. Now let's consider the affordability of essential goods and services. In the 1930s, the average family spent about 1/4 of its income on food. Today, while we spend a smaller percentage of our income on food, we shell out more for housing, healthcare, and education. This shift has left modern families less equipped to handle economic downturns than past generations. So what does this mean for you? Well, as the cost of living continues to outpace income growth and global trade barriers rise, we could be heading into a period of financial hardship reminiscent of the Great Depression. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. The echoes of the 1930s are growing louder. In an era where global goods might become unaffordable or unavailable, self-sufficiency is no longer an option, it's a necessity. But what does self-sufficiency look like in our modern world? Firstly, let's consider food security. As supply chains break down and the cost of imported goods skyrockets, cultivating your own food sources becomes invaluable. Starting and maintaining a home garden isn't just a pastime, it's a lifeline. From tomatoes to potatoes, lettuce to leeks, home gardening offers a way to offset rising food costs while ensuring access to fresh and nutritious produce. But it doesn't stop at veggies. Fruit trees and berry bushes can provide a steady supply of nutritious sweet treats throughout the year. And then, there's protein. Raising backyard poultry, such as chickens, ducks, and even quails, can provide you with a consistent source of eggs and, if necessary, meat. These feathered friends require less space than you might think, and in return, they offer a wealth of benefits, from pest control to food waste reduction. But self-sufficiency isn't just about food. It's also about fiscal responsibility. In a world on the brink of economic upheaval, how you handle your finances can make all the difference. Safeguarding assets against inflation is critical. One strategy is to invest in tangible assets, things that hold value regardless of the state of the economy. Precious metals like gold and silver have been a store of value for thousands of years, and they can serve as a hedge against inflation. Reducing dependency on a failing monetary system is another key aspect of financial preparedness. This could mean diversifying your investments, exploring alternative currencies, or even bartering goods and services within your local community. And let's not forget about preserving and storing food. Home canning, a technique that's been around for centuries, allows you to store your garden's bounty for the leaner months. From pickles to jams, sauces to soups, canning is a practical and economical way to extend the shelf life of your homegrown produce. In the face of an uncertain future, these strategies for self-sufficiency can provide a measure of control and security. They can help you weather the storm of economic instability, and even turn a crisis into an opportunity for growth and resilience. But remember, self-sufficiency isn't a solo endeavor. It's about building strong, resilient communities. It's about sharing resources, knowledge, and skills. It's about coming together to support one another in times of need. As we navigate this changing world, it's important to remember that self-sufficiency isn't an end goal. It's a journey. It's about learning, adapting, and growing. It's about becoming more resilient, more resourceful, and more independent. Survival isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. So let's lace up our dancing shoes and embrace the challenges ahead, because when we're prepared, we're unstoppable. If the global supply chain breaks down, we could see widespread shortages and hyperinflation. What does this new reality look like? Imagine a world where the supermarket shelves are empty more often than not, where the price of a loaf of bread doubles then triples in a matter of weeks. This is the reality of hyperinflation, a situation where the cost of goods soars while the value of money plummets. But hyperinflation is just the tip of the iceberg. As food and goods become increasingly scarce, we could see a rise in crime rates and social unrest. People might become desperate, leading to a breakdown of law and order. What's more, the psychological impact of such a scenario can't be overstated. Stress levels would undoubtedly skyrocket as people grapple with the reality of not being able to afford or even find basic necessities. This could lead to an increase in mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. However, in the face of such adversity, we could also see a resurgence of community spirit. People would need to band together, share resources, and support one another to survive. We could witness the rise of barter systems and localized economies as people trade goods and services directly. Families and neighbors could start pooling resources, growing their own food, and sharing skills. This could lead to a revival of old-world crafts and trades, such as woodworking, blacksmithing, and weaving, as people turn to these skills to create what they can't buy. In this new reality, self-sufficiency becomes not just a lifestyle choice, but a matter of survival. Home gardens, backyard poultry, and home canning could become the norm rather than the exception. People might start saving seeds, composting, and practicing water conservation to sustain their gardens. Moreover, we could see a shift in values. Material possessions and consumerism could take a backseat to basic survival, community, and sustainability. People might start valuing experiences and relationships more than possessions. This isn't a dystopian fantasy, it's a potential reality that we could face if the global supply chain breaks down. It's a sobering thought, but one that we need to consider seriously. But remember, this potential future doesn't have to be a bleak one. In the face of adversity, humans have shown remarkable resilience and ingenuity. We adapt, we innovate, and we find ways to survive and thrive. In the end, the key to weathering such a storm lies in preparation and resilience. By planning ahead, becoming more self-sufficient, and fostering strong community ties, we can not only survive, but also build a more sustainable and resilient future. Change is coming, but with preparation and resilience, we can weather the storm. The breakdown of the global supply chain is not a distant possibility. It's an imminent reality. As we stare into the eye of this impending economic storm, there's a pressing need to prepare. Preparation is the key to survival, and it's the key to thriving in the face of adversity. Just as the captain of a ship wouldn't set sail without ensuring his vessel is seaworthy, we too must ensure our households are ready to weather the economic tempest that's on the horizon. We must become economically and logistically self-sufficient, not as a reaction to fear, but as a proactive strategy for survival. The time to prepare is now, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. The urgency of this situation cannot be overstated. Each day that passes without action is a day lost, a day that could have been spent fortifying our defenses against the economic onslaught that's looming. The first step is to become economically self-sufficient. This means safeguarding our assets against inflation, investing in tangible assets, reducing our dependency on a crumbling monetary system, and cultivating multiple streams of income. It's about creating a financial buffer that can absorb the shocks of economic instability. The second step is logistical self-sufficiency. This encompasses everything from growing our own food to learning essential survival skills. It's about becoming less reliant on the global supply chain and more reliant on our own abilities and resources. But remember, self-sufficiency isn't about isolating ourselves from the world. It's about building resilience so that we can continue to engage with the world even when it's in turmoil. In conclusion, the urgency of preparation is real. It's not a matter of if the global supply chain will break down, but when. And when it does, those who are prepared will be the ones who survive and thrive. So let's start preparing today, because preparation is not about fear, it's about freedom. The freedom to face whatever comes with confidence and calm.